Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. The release of the new Twist format exposed some very serious flaws in Hearthstone. I didn't believe in the viability of the concept, but I was surprised at the scale of the failure. Guys, I demand analytics from you.
Okay Dora. Let's talk about the reasons why the implementation of new modes usually ends in failure, and try to find an answer to the question, why the standard format significantly limits the capabilities of developers.
We looked at Hearthstone from a completely different angle and discovered hidden limitations that explain Blizzard's controversial decisions. The initial management strategy led the game into a dead end from which it is almost impossible to get out.
Introducing new modes is a great way to breathe new life into old things. Give a unique user experience, expand the audience, increase variety and player engagement. In addition, this is a great opportunity to bring back players who have left. But for some reasons, every new way to play traditional Hearthstone inevitably fails. According to Firestone, all new modes have a very small audience and are rather niche. They did not receive sufficient support and development. Only Standard remains really popular and effective. Alternative ways of playing the game are very bad. Are the developers unable to come up with something interesting?
Good question. We are assuming it's no accident.
We get the feeling that the developers are not interested in popularizing other ways of playing besides Standard. We used to think that if developers introduce a new mode, they want us to actively play it, but what if that's not the case?
Let's break it down using the new format as an example. When the developers announced Twist, I didn't believe that Blizzard would allow players to play in this mode. And I wasn't wrong. Twist is a regularly rotating format, where each rotation can include curated card pools and special rule sets. We could get a very dynamic and unique competitive environment. The first format is called Wonders and it allows you to use cards from all Hearthstone expansions up to 2017. This is a unique opportunity to go back in time and see what would have happened if the split into Wild and Standard formats had not happened. On top of that, the developers will change the rules every month, forcing the metagame to evolve. Sounds like a dream.
In fact, this has truly been a dream for many players. Some members of the community have been asking for this type of gameplay for a long time. So why did this perfect concept on paper turn into yet another failure?
To gain full access to the mode, you must have accumulated a huge collection of cards over the years from very old expansions that are practically useless even for the Wild format. We asked our audience what is the main drawback to the new mode. Predictably, most players consider the incredibly high barrier to entry to be the main problem. Interestingly, only a little over 10% of players find the Twist concept itself interesting. Thus, if implemented properly, Twist could become not only the main mode in Hearthstone but also bring back a large number of old players.
With dynamically changing rules and expansion pools, it is not rational for players to collect very old cards. For this reason, I am very surprised that the developers did not present an adapted monetization system. Yes, they offered to buy ready-to-battle decks, but this option is not fully suitable for effective play and is also quite expensive. In my opinion, the subscription model is ideal for the mode. Pay $10 and get full access to all class cards for one of the heroes for 4 months. This seems fair. According to official statistics, in September, just over 3,000 players from all over the world reached the legendary rank in Twist. This is almost 16 times less than in the Standard format. This number indicates extremely low interest in the new way of playing. Are the developers so blind that they couldn't see that the barrier to entry was too high?
We are sure that the addition of Twist as a new way to play is a formality for Blizzard.
The development team did not expect success and did not aim to make the format open to all players.
But why didn't the developers believe in a new way of playing the game?
The developers understand that without a revolutionary approach to monetization, the new format has no future. Because of the invisible limitations, they cannot allow the new format to be more loyal than Standard, as this would harm the effectiveness of the game. Your suggestion, Dora, of a $10 subscription is the most logical solution for lowering the barrier to entry, but it will definitely have a negative effect on the overall revenue of the game.
Standard is still the key game mode that receives the most content, support and development. The entire economy of the game is built around the Standard format. Each expansion has a huge impact on the metagame and forces players to collect new cards to stay competitive. Traditionally, the game's revenue at least doubles during the release of new expansions. Developers cannot allow competition with the format, the consequence of which could be a decline in audience. But we urge you not to jump to conclusions. This video is not about Blizzard's greed. Our goal is to tell you about the hidden restrictions that function in almost every game as a service and that you may not realize.
Things are completely different in the wild format. New expansions have minimal impact on decks, so meta archetypes can remain effective for several years. This means players don't need to invest resources into packs or new cards. It would be irrational for Blizzard to draw too much attention to wild mode. Perhaps for this reason, developers ignore the format, at least until it breaks completely.
The same goes for the classic format, which has been replaced by Twist.
The complete lack of support and attempts to draw attention to this way of playing led to the mode being taken over by bots.
Blizzard is not developing those game modes where players have less reason to make regular purchases and even intentionally makes them less convenient to play. But as you guys argue, it's not about greed, it's about efficiency. In other words, if I sell a very popular service and I decide to expand my product line with an option that has more interesting features, and at the same time has a lower cost, it would be a big stupidity from a business point of view. Here's an example. After Google introduced YouTube Short, more and more viewers started to prefer short clips over long videos. This forced creators to make more short clips, but Google is best at monetizing long videos. The company is still looking for ways to effectively monetize shorts. Senior staff are worried that shorts risks cannibalizing the core YouTube business. This is stated by Financial Times.
Great example Dora. A new product that is too good becomes popular and can destroy a company's business if it does not have a clear monetization plan. For this reason, Twist as well as Duels are ambiguous options that are designed to expand the range in the game, but do not affect the sales of the main service.
Both of these modes are very similar in ideology. They are closed to most players, due to a very high barrier to entry. Only veterans who save all the cards have full free access to them. Other players will have to spend a lot of resources to be able to enter the game, which is pointless if the mode is not popular. Pay attention to a very interesting feature of Duels. To play you need to create a 15-card starting deck, which in some cases is a friendlier option than standard. For this reason, the developers intentionally don't allow you to play with one deck all the time. At the start of a match, you will have to choose a class from a random pool of heroes. So you will be forced to have at least a few decks to play efficiently, which makes the game less comfortable and more expensive. The developers are not stupid, they know very well how to improve interaction and make a comfortable environment for the game, but they don't do it intentionally.
Guys, I think you've completely forgotten about Battlegrounds. This unique mode is almost 100% free to play and gets huge support from the developers. How do you explain that?
In our opinion, Battlegrounds is a major anomaly. This is an analog of shorts for YouTube. It's an experiment that got out of control, and a great popularity forces Blizzard to develop the mode, and gives them hope to one day find a way to monetize it effectively. Unfortunately, in an environment where everything is free, players have no intention of spending money on cosmetics or battle pass.
Despite numerous experiments with cosmetics, the mode does not bring impressive profits to the developers. One of the last ideas was Battlegrounds Bash, which disappeared from the game. Through our surveys, we watched as this proposal gradually became less effective. By the way, Team Fight Tactics faces similar difficulties. Despite the enormous popularity and interest of players, as well as the good reputation of Riot Games, players were very reluctant to spend money on cosmetics. The efficiency of the game was significantly increased only a few months ago. I dare say that if Blizzard hadn't created Battlegrounds, the current Hearthstone audience would be significantly smaller, but Blizzard would be making more money. There are definitely some players who prefer Battlegrounds and no longer need to collect cards.
I noticed an interesting feature. Battlegrounds players don't have the option to spend gold in the mode, although players are demanding to add such options in the store. Perhaps this is not accidental either. It seems that the developers want to leave the players resources to motivate them to return to the traditional ways of playing. Furthermore, Battlegrounds has a separate progression system that is almost pointless. You can complete the internal rewards track in less than a month, after which you have no incentives in the form of quests for the next 3 months. This doesn't seem like an accident either. The developers don't want to give players extra incentives to stay in the mode for too long.
That's right. What we have perceived for years as flaws that need to be fixed may in fact be a hidden system that has a specific purpose.
But in theory, developers can create an alternative mode that will not depend on the standard format, provided there is a separate and reliable monetization system. Mercenaries was such an attempt.
This is not just a mode, but a separate game, an alternative to the traditional ways of playing that can increase the audience. Blizzard was counting on a significant increase in profits by introducing monetization through packs and gacha mechanics. But in reality, the progression system turned out to be terrible. The developers compensated for the small amount of content with a huge amount of grind. At the same time, buying packs was pointless, as it brought meager benefits. Despite the fact that the mode is dead, its fate clearly demonstrates Blizzard's logic in creating an alternative to the standard format.
The monetization problem is incredibly acute for Blizzard right now. According to AppMagic, revenues on mobile platforms have almost halved over the last year. The main reason for this is the abandonment of the Chinese market and the ban on purchases in Russia. At the same time, it is worth noting that according to indirect data, the game's audience shows a stable slow growth and player engagement remains very high. Despite this, Hearthstone makes less money.
Developers introducing new things try not to break the current monetization and even try to artificially increase it. Do you remember the unexpected release of the almost useless mini-set for Death Knight? This time, the developers decided to create an additional monetization option. A special expansion was introduced with the new format. Caverns of Time was positioned as the first set of cards for Wild, but it is actually only useful for Twist. This option made the barrier to entry even higher and at the same time forces veterans to spend extra resources to get new cards. An ingenious manipulative approach that potentially allows for increased profits even in cases of low popularity for the new format. The set contained a large number of buffed reprints and completely new cards whose power level is higher compared to the 2016 expansions. These changes are aimed solely at increasing profits. It is natural that these innovations upset the balance in the new mode and led to extremely low diversity. As a result, we ended up with a worse competitive environment, which led to incredibly low popularity of the format.
Let's move on to the conclusions. If your assumptions are true, then the game development strategy has led to Hearthstone being hostage to the monetization of the standard format. Over the course of 10 years, many alternative ways to play have appeared in the game, but all of them are deliberately closed to the majority of players. New modes should not compete with the standard, which means they deliberately have a high barrier to entry. This naturally leads to extremely low popularity and, as a consequence, a complete lack of support from developers. New ways of playing the game won't be viable without a much friendlier approach to monetization, but Blizzard can't do that, for the risks of losing efficiency. Battlegrounds introduced a lot of chaos into this structure, but Blizzard will not make the same mistake again. In these conditions, the presence of current modes and the emergence of new formats is completely meaningless. With the gradual loss of efficiency in the face of high engagement and with supposed audience growth, the Hearthstone team has less and less room to act. The combination of these factors leads to the fact that Hearthstone is at a dead end. In this case, each new innovation gradually worsens the situation. The only reliable source of income is still cards, which means Blizzard will continue to increase the number of new expansions. And this is the worst strategy, but it seems there are no alternatives. The last hope is Microsoft. We hope that the company will have enough courage to make changes to Blizzard's strategy.
We have been thinking about ways out of this situation for a very long time, and it seems that we have found a solution that will inevitably increase the profitability of Hearthstone and make the game in other formats much more comfortable.
If you're interested, let us know about it in the comments and also share your ideas. We can't wait to hear what you think. We're especially interested in the opinions of people in the gaming industry. We're wondering how much our thoughts can match the realities.
Could the emergence of a more friendly and interesting way of playing the game have a negative impact on the revenue?
Finally, the traditional question will concern our theory.
Do you agree with the statement that Hearthstone has become hostage to the monetization of the standard format?
Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls in the community tab.
Finally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors. Dear friends, your support is invaluable. Many thanks to each of you.
We also want to welcome new subscribers to our Mathematician Squad. We only see nicknames of public users who have not hidden the subscription section on their channel, but we are grateful to everyone for joining.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.